Hello, everyone. Welcome to my live streaming session today. I'm waiting for Scrum to start at work, so I have a few minutes to talk about this topic. Um, so it's not a very organized section, but I do have a lot of thoughts I would like to discuss and share with you. So let me. So, what makes a country great, right? Um, for many countries like China or the communist countries or the developing countries, they focus almost all of effort on wealth building, making sure the country is strong economically, um, and that triggers down to its citizens very efficient level because government is always about empowering themselves with wealth, build infrastructure and technology or collaborate so that wealth can accumulate and all that. And the citizens understand that as well. Without wealth, without a solid foundation of finance, there's nothing that can be done. They can if they cannot import goods that have quality from other countries, if they don't have good deals, trade deals to facilitate this happening, then they're stuck with really crappy local made stuff. Because there's a trade parity, right? I mean, some countries are good at making some stuff than others, so trade is absolutely necessary to maintain a good standard of living. And good standard of living requires having the best stuff from all around the world, which is why in any country they don't always just have goods that are made from themselves, but they import it from China, from Germany, from Japan, from USA. So yeah, I mean, needless to say, the wealth economics part is very important for a country to be great. Because without that, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. You're constantly on survival mode. Um, if your country is too poor or even become a point where it bankrupts itself and it has to ask for bailout from other countries, may even get usurped by other countries, right? Like I'm not too familiar with the whole Ukraine situation and Russia, but I think if Ukraine were and the surrounding little countries were stronger economically, maybe they would find a way to fight being usurped by Russia, right? I'm not too sure about that whole situation, but and of course, maybe we should actually quote the situation in Middle East instead. If there's a Middle East country, I mean the Middle East countries that are in war and battle, right? If they are rich, they can buy a lot more weapons, more far-reaching missiles and like fighter jets and bombs, and they can defend themselves really well. And the other countries know that they have these advanced technologies, and they didn't bother to like go in. So the bottom line is that money is very important, so important that many countries see that as the number one priority and just basically put everything else in the back burner. Don't really care about human rights or quality of just like a spirits, or being open to different opinions and ideals, because they simply cannot afford it. Some countries are so poor they have to be constantly on survival mode. But that being said, does that mean we this is enough? Is that enough for a country to be great? I mean, we see China right now. I mean, economically, it's booming. I mean, the current coronavirus aside, it was going up and up. And sure, lately it has hit some kind of a plateau. But overall trend is still going up. They have all kinds of human resources, right? The smartest AI guy, Andrew Ng, goes back to China and contribute to his home country. And China's rocket technology is booming. They already sent someone to the back of the moon. That they may be the first one actually. I don't think United States done that, and even the original moon landing could have been a hoax, but unlikely, right? I mean, they definitely have filmed a hoax experience, and that may be actually what we saw back then on TV. But I think there's evidence that they definitely went to the moon. But anyway, that's not digress, right? Um, so money is it? enough. I mean, look at China. I mean, that's a typical example of a country prioritizing money over everything else, right? I mean, speak to people from China who are not like young or less than 18 years old, right? Anyone who's older than like Generation Y, like people born before 1980, all of them have these concepts of money first, everything else later. Everything is about money to them. They think if you have money, you get to say anything. You get to have status. People respect you. You can buy weapons. You can, it's just like they think magically that the lives of their citizen would be great. Um, and that's all they care about. And let's look at the opposite example extreme of that, right? In my mind, in my knowledge, that's basically America. America is so focused on individual freedom and human rights. I mean, not to say there's no corruption in this country and oligarchs monopolizing industries and doing unfair practices to the normal people. Not to say that, but America's overall constitution and legal systems are based on these values that our founding fathers have set forth back in the days, about 200 years ago, right? So, and a lot of people respect that a lot, and then try to live up to that. And the whole legal system and all the lawyers basically aspire to those set of values and always quote the Constitution and the founding fathers' words and all that stuff. So, hypocritic or not, that's actually the set of values we try to live by in the United States. And it's absolutely not money first, right? I mean, it seems to be only the interest for those Wall Street, big city, modern city people's goal to put money first. Those who are near the money engine, that's Wall Street, and lately the money engine, that's the Silicon Valley, right? I mean, other than those big cities with the profit center, so to speak, of the country, everyone else actually don't give a damn about money, right? All they want is a stable job or just a stable way to continue living well. Living well for a lot of people, not in the big cities, is actually extremely simple. Just like having food, having shelter, and having basic medical care, and that's really all they care about. And that's why they would vote for people like Trump, who who speaks to them. Okay, hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Never mind. Never mind that phone call. Probably some real estate agent. Yeah, I keep getting calls from real estate agent. It's annoying as fuck. Anyway, yeah, it's like that's not a good profession anyway. The cold call and what you're doing isn't helping the society as a whole. You're just a middleman who jack up the selling price, and yeah. So anyway, so yeah, America is quite an opposite of China, right? But is that good though? I mean, look at how fast China can execute on its plans. They built a hospital in 10 days. I mean, they built the entire outer, like the whole structure was basically complete in 3 days. But the other 7 days, they probably have to put in beds, medical equipment, and locate the doctors and the medical staff and put them there. I mean, that's the other 7 days, right? There's logistics of other things. But the actual construction, 3 days. I mean, try to do that in USA. I don't care how fast you approve it. It's gonna take at least a couple of weeks to just build the whole thing. At least. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, if a government, tries to build a hospital, they have to hire some kind of union workers, right? And the union workers, they're known to drag their feet. They overcharge you. They put a light bulb, they can charge you $100 for that, because they say, I have to go to this place, I have to buy the light bulb, I have to make sure it's safe. Have to write letter to get up there. You know, turn off the switch. Make sure the switch can be turned off properly. All that bullshit, right? So that's what government is slow and they charge us heavy. And China is like when the leadership doesn't want bullshit, you're not gonna get bullshit because they don't want to get the head chopped off. They don't want to get executed. Like you go against that power in a single party, yeah. I mean, you could die for being politically, opposite of the single party. So they don't get bullshit. So if the leadership wants to build a hospital in 3 days, it is done. In America now, everybody gets a voice. The dumb people, the smart people, the people who are irrelevant, the activists who try to try to have a voice in the irrelevant matter. Like a lot of things can slow it down, right? That's basically. And then there are lawsuits, and then once there's a lawsuit, you can't really proceed until that's clear. And the legal system is piled up all the way back for many cases, and you have to prioritize which one to go first. This is all crazy. In China, you can forget about it. Okay, China, the government wants something done, it's done. So in that sense, America. That's why America's government has not really made any meaningful policies for many years. One could actually propose that. I mean, not propose, hypothesize that. Even if the government didn't exist for the past 20, 30 years, and just have the staff to keep running the existing policies and laws, it would not have made any difference. Like, goddamn, I mean, except the natural disasters urgent response, those require the government's decision, sure. But any normal person can make those decisions, right? So yeah, one could argue that we don't really need our government for the past 50 years. They're quite useless because they're in a deadlock, right? They're in a gridlock. They can't push anything through. All they push through is like send a bunch of soldiers, like spend a bunch of money, in the wars that we don't fully understand. Like none of us understands it except the insiders. But obviously, it's probably about control, trying to maintain to be the one superpower. So they need to have a presence in everywhere that's worth a damn. Middle East, there's a lot of oil, and so which one is good, right? What makes a country great, right, man? America's values and idealism is something to aspire to, but we're so slow in execution, and we can't make a goddamn decision. And in that case, also our money is not the number one in the world anymore for a while. China is becoming more rich, and according to Elon Musk, the genius of the century, he thinks that China will be at least 2 to 3 times richer than America, and so economically we will be lagging behind. And what would happen then? Would that make China greater than USA? I mean, I think by then it will be clear to everyone that yes, China is the richest guy in the world. But I mean, in terms of leadership and things to aspire to, they will still lag. So they may be a superpower, but they will not be the one person everybody listens to, looks up to. So it's like that really rich asshole live down the street, right? I mean, yeah, I mean he has a lot of money, he can influence a lot of policies and people, but they don't buy your heart, and you obviously don't want to listen to him whenever you don't have to. So there's a difference, right? So just following money is not necessarily make the country great at all. I mean, you could be, like I said, the obnoxious rich guy down the block. So you don't want to just have that. So, but which one is first? Obviously, to build a great country, right? Let's say you have a new country. The first thing, obviously, is economic viability. You have to make sure it survives, and once it has the basic level of sustainability, way to make sure it doesn't go down, has enough reserve, has resiliency in its policies, and just buffer for the country. Then you need to think about the quality of life of its citizens, and that usually translates into values and ideals of the citizens' minds, right? What should the citizens be feeling and thinking every day that actually keeps this country together, right? It cannot be money. If it's money, the people would do a lot of fucked up things. Like in China, you have a lot of child being abducted and trafficking and sex trades and like drugs and just like fake food. A lot of people need food and they sell fake stuff and endanger like fake baby powder, endanger lives of innocents. They have a lot of fucked up stuff. I mean, in America, I mean, it would be truly appalling to be doing those sort of things. So when you're in an environment where people just don't think about those shitty stuff, it's much less likely that like America would endanger people of being in endanger the innocent lives of the babies by selling fake baby powder. But China, for China, these things have happened where you just throw away everything else and just focus on money. And don't get me wrong, right? I mean, I'm a Chinese myself. I would love for the country to be great. I just don't think money should be the only thing they talk about like 24/7, right? It's like whenever you bring in other values, they'll be like, oh, stop being hypocritical. Without money, you can't do anything. Without money, you don't have respect. With money, you don't have a voice. Without money, you can't execute what you want. No, that all of that is true. But once you have some money, you don't always have to talk about money anymore. What happens to those people, just like it did to my father, is that lack of money was a traumatic experience to them early on, and from that point on their mind is forever screwed up, damaged, to the point that they're just forever looking for more and more money. Money is never enough to them anymore. So you don't want to be like that, and as a country, definitely you don't want to be like that. So that's why like all the young people who have good education have tried to stay in United States and other countries, not really go back to develop. The ones who go back is really thinking about their career. Yeah, you can have a pretty good career in China because the computers, AI, and a lot of areas are really, like in terms of research and knowledge, they are really really getting up there. I mean, I don't care if it's because of their own research efforts or if they stole from the United States of the intellectual properties. The fact is that in China you have a lot of opportunities for growth as a career, but it's not always about career, work, and money, right? Like basically, career is money. I mean, do you want to have a career that doesn't pay you? I mean, not a lot of people can be that noble, right? Like volunteers, philanthropists. Not a lot of people can be that noble. So 99.9% of us work for a living, and working means a career. So a lot of people really just go back to China for money. And the sad thing is, a lot of people cannot distinguish between money, uh, between career and their life. They kind of equate their lives to their career, which kind of makes them the all money thinking people. You have to separate the two. You can let your career and money affect the way you think about life. So to quote from Fight Club, not that I'm in one or or if I think that's a good idea, but to quote from Fight Club, you are not your job. Don't let your job define you. Your job, by definition, is something you have to do for a living. Unless you really love the job and you actually choose to do it not for money, in that case, I would say that's an occupation. Like it doesn't know it's not no longer a job. Because a job sounds like something that's assigned to you in exchange of something else, which is usually money. So yeah, I mean, you could be occupied, by more noble pursuits, and that's great. But most of us are working for money, and try not to let your job define you as a person. If at work, if you're a finance guy, all you think about is money, and then you come home, and then all you think about is money. You talk to money, you talk in money, you talk to your family about money all the time. Not only is it dry and uninspiring and boring and not sexy, it actually diminishes your soul and your quality of life as a whole. I mean, think about accountants, right, who follow rules to the letter and would not. They get paid not to be creative, and just look at documents over and over again, make sure procedures are followed. Imagine they bring that back to home. What kind of home would that be? I mean, there's absolute zero creativity, right? I mean, yeah, some could argue there's creativity in accounting. Sure, yeah, but everything is a percentage, okay? The percentage of creativity in accounting for most people, unless you're a partner where you get to make big decisions, is close to zero. If you're an accountant, most of the time you don't get to be creative. So, so try not to bring your job back into your personal life or to your family. Um, and that relates to the point very well about money shouldn't be everything you think about. It only is important at the beginning to survive, and later on you should build that alongside. I wouldn't say which one is more important, but alongside the values of its citizens of your country. You can define the value to be money, Otherwise, then yeah, all your citizens would be spiritually very poor. Anyway, I made my point. There might be other points, but I don't remember right now, and the video is already too long. So thanks for visiting, and we'll see you next time.